Good to go. Hello, everybody. We'll start off with you, Prop, to get you in and out quickly. Joe,
Sure.
got an update on Ferry flood hazard mitigation.
Sure. Rob, I'm underway with the final review of the Ferry report. I've been in touch with the consultants, LK McLean, and we've agreed to schedule a meeting between them and me in the next 2 weeks to finalize the conclusions. And then we'll be ready for distribution to your team for review of the presentation and report materials. We'll subsequently schedule a public meeting to present the findings.
All right, perfect. Yeah, that's awesome. So we'll look forward to that within the next 2 weeks, as you said.
Yeah, I think, Rob, by the time it'll get to you for review, it would probably be between 1 month and 1.5 months from now to give them time to make those edits and finalize the report, and then it'll be ready to packaged up for your team.
Okay, so we're looking like at a tentative end of September target to provide.
So, yeah. I think so. I don't want to speak totally for them because we haven't identified the volume and amount of changes, but that seems reasonable to me. I think that's an appropriate estimate.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, no worries. I think we're good on time for this grant, but just to keep things moving along, we'll keep shooting for that fall 2025 to host the public, and ideally, I think we're aiming for town board consideration / approval by the end of the year.
Exactly.
And then that should give us ample time to do all the reconciliation, make sure everything's good for closeout. And if there's any additional requests for more information, we can get those sorted out before the grant closeout.
Exactly.
On March 31st, in case anything needs to come to additional work from the consultant. If anything needs to be reworked or anything like that comes up, we have plenty of time.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Awesome. Only question I had is reimbursements. Any more reimbursements down for coming up for dishes review or processing?
I mean, I can submit what I have, even though it's not much. Do you think we're going to get any more?
Within the next month,
Okay, so maybe
we'll accrue some sizable hours.
Yeah, so I'll probably wait until I get those and then I'll submit.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, Dishes recommends submitting 1 reimbursement request quarterly going forward. So, with the quarterly report, that's going to be the reporting period ends on September 30th. I think that'll align with the work updates that the consultant needs to do. And then, with that, you can submit an additional reimbursement request. We'll process that. And then if there's any final invoices left, that'll be the final payment request. That one sometimes takes a little bit longer to process because it's going to be final payment. So I would recommend splitting it into 2 reimbursements, or, let me know how what works best financially for the town.
Okay, thanks.
When do we plan a public presentation?
I think certainly before the holidays, before Thanksgiving. That would largely be influenced by the town board's availability, as well as the consultant's production schedule.
Awesome. So yeah, nothing else on my end. I guess the only other item that I know, Joe, that was with I think town attorney for quite a while was the Exhibit E supplementary conditions. Did we ever hear anything final on that, or is that
no? But we do have a new attorney, and we can bring that to the top of his desk with his onboarding. A separate question, approximately how long does that review take from your team on our presentation materials?
The presentation materials, I would say 2 weeks is more than enough time. We've actually been kind of coordinating more internally, and if it's going to be a public presentation that's already outlined in the approved scope of work, that most likely will not require PIO approval. So we've been trying to kind of get ahead of that question as it's come up on some other grants as well. So that might save you more time, but nonetheless, we would like to save it on the dishes record for file purposes.
Okay, so we could budget, 2 to 3 weeks on your end for a turnaround time, and concurrently, perhaps we could schedule something on the town board calendar
Mhm.
with that kind of lead time. So,
Yeah, that sounds appropriate. Thank you.
okay.
Good.
Awesome. And one other thing, Joe, I wanted to ask is that I know that as part of one of the non-construction activities we have is the BCA development. Because the hope is, if we have a construction-ready application, we can submit that to any new funding opportunity if and when it comes online. With respect to that, has there been any BCA development completion or any questions that maybe the consultant or the town had? If needed, we do have a BCA specialist for dishes that I can, put in touch with, and he can provide some review feedback. That way, we can make sure it's a strong defensible benefit cost analysis should we submit a future construction application for this for the results from this report.
BCA issues would likely come up in the next couple of weeks. The purpose of my meeting with the consultants and review of the conclusions is to hone in on a few of the alternative design solutions, which would significantly impact cost and feasibility. So once those are finalized, we'll have a design approach that we could run through a more formal BCA analysis.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, just keep us in the loop. That makes total sense. And if needed, we'll loop in the BCA specialist, and we can jump on a call as needed to
Yeah,
make sure
right now we have like placeholder design criteria and very soft associated a cost for those alternatives. So that's the goal, is to hone in on those and sharpen the pencil on some of those alternatives.
Okay, that's awesome. All right. And with that, any support or other assistance needed from dishes at this point?
Not on my end. Thank you, though.
No. All right. Well, thank you so much for making time. And I look forward to our next monthly check-in meeting.
Yes, that will be September 2nd.
September 2nd. That will be falling on Labor Day week, so I may not be able to attend. If we can reschedule or possible.
Yep, let me just look at the calendar.
Thank you.
What's the date?
September 2nd. How about the 16th?
Tuesday.
That works.
Okay. All right, we'll move that.
September 6th. Okay, awesome. I'll send out some follow-up notes from this call. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
Have a great day.
All right, you too. Next on the agenda, we have Community Development Block Grant, and we have Rosemary Farr from Suffolk County here.
Hello. I'm just trying to get this off the camera. There we go. The camera wasn't working. How are you today? Thank you
Okay,
for
how are
having
you?
me. Good. I'm Rosemary Farr from Suffolk County Community Development. I know that you guys were requesting a little more information regarding the requirements, the flow, and the eligibility, I guess, of the Community Development Block Grant and how it works. I did supply a program handbook. I don't know if that was helpful for anyone. If you got to look at it. Mainly, the Community Development Block Grant helps low to moderate income people. And we're looking at census tracts for 51% or higher for a low to moderate area. So mostly in the past, Shelter Island did not really have a census tract that had anybody that we could assist. So we would assist instead removable architectural barriers for ADA. So we did your recreational facility. We helped with money for that. Raising the stairs, I guess, so it's flush with the front door, putting that ramp on we paid for. We also had paid for a architectural review of the police station, because we were hoping to do a ramp there, but I know that project is gonna be a lot larger and more detailed in many more years, so that's something we helped with the evaluation of the architect, I believe it was. And right now, since you guys are dealing with CAST, they are doing a great job in Southold, and they are also doing a wonderful job in Shelter Island. So that is helping a low to moderate population, and we're giving you guys money for that to help them. Next year for 2020, well, this year for 2025, since our year just starts in September 1st, we're going to be giving more money to CAST. We're giving some money to you guys for deer butchering to provide the venison for CAST. And we're looking at removal of architectural barriers, again, at a town-owned facility. I spoke with Barbara Bloom recently, and we have a new census tract for Shelter Island after the census was done. So you do have a low to moderate income area in the census tract. That's 55%. And that sort of goes right sort of where it does encompass the recreational facility, which is great. So projects can be done in there. And it goes under Deering Harbor all the way down to about where the ferry is, South Ferry. So I showed Barbara how to get to the map. So you guys could look at that. Maybe a senior center. Seniors by default are low income because they're on a fixed income. Anything ADA we help with. And now maybe, something else, maybe some sidewalks or something we could do in that low to moderate area in the census tract. So that's basically an overall nutshell of CDBG of helping low to moderate area or clientele. But I don't know if you have any specific questions.
Yes, it's always good to review the calendar because it's always confusing on our side. So it's included in page 2 of what you sent, but I'd like to just highlight, like, I know our part is we need to decide on what our project is for the coming year. And that has to be done via town board resolution before December 1st, so it can get submitted to you. Then take it from there, because I know our part.
Okay, so you guys will give us a 1, 2, 3 projects, whatever you like. We gather all the projects December 1st. Between January and February, we will review all the projects to see what we like that are maybe shovel ready. That would be easier to get money to get moving, because HUD doesn't like when we sit on money for a couple of years and then try and spend it all at once. So HUD wants to make sure that we are pretty much shovel ready and always moving the money. Then once we have our projects that we like, we will talk to you guys in February to see, what do you think of this? What are you doing with this project? And then we wait. We kind of have to wait for HUD to give us our award. They used to give an award back in February. And this year, we just got our award for 25 in May. So then there's a large waiting period, waiting to see how much HUD is going to give us. We tell you guys when you ask for request any money, we request that the same amount you asked for last year. Let's assume we're going to get the same amount this year. About that. We'll do that. So we wait for HUD, but as soon as HUD gives us our award numbers, then we could have a conversation with all the consortium members again, which is the 6 towns and 6 villages, and maybe submits for any projects. And we'll see, okay, here's how much they're giving us now. What projects can you really do? How much money do you really need? Do we need to up or down a project? Because we don't know until HUD gets it. Once we get our award number from HUD, we finalize it. We have to do an annual plan and submit it to HUD. So normally we try and submit the annual plan in July. We can try and get it in June, that's even better. So this year, for example, we had our consolidated plan. We had to wait for Town of Huntington to get it in with us because they're part of the consortium and they had their own money. So we had to wait for them to submit. But usually figure July 1st, we would submit 45 days for HUD to review the project to see if they like it, come back with any comments for the annual plan. After 45 days, they would send us our contract, an agreement, we would sign it. And then once that happens, we will be sending you your contracts. So honestly, you can't execute your contract until HUD executes our contract. But we do try and get the contracts up and ready and sent to you right away. But it's a big gap of a waiting period from December 1st to March, April, May, when HUD decides to give us our funding. And then the year starts September 1st. So our program year is September 1st to August 31st. So right now, next month, we will be starting our 2025 year. HUD has received our annual plan, and we're waiting for the comment on it, or say okay, or have a problem with it. But either way, we're working on getting new contracts quickly.
I think that's always the question, is because it takes a while for everything to get approved, and then we're not, like, when do we need to spend the money by? And we're talking old years, and we're already into a new year. So
I'm not sure you really cleared that up for me, to be honest with you. I just,
It's very confusing. Go ahead.
right, so if you're hoping to approve 25 monies by September 1st?
We are submitted already 25 monies to HUD. We submitted August 1st this year. Usually goes July. We submitted August 1st to HUD for 25 money. They have 45 days to review it, the annual plan, and then to comment on it if they have any comments, but then then we wait for them to send us a contract.
When do
yes.
when do you need from us 26 planning?
The 26 planning, if you look at page 2 on the program handbook,
Yep.
number 7, December 1st is when your 26 planning is due.
Okay,
So it's, with the hope that HUD gets their act together sometime soon, which I'm not counting on it right now, because right now we just lost somebody else in the HUD office. We would love to have our award February, March, then we can get our annual planning quicker. But since they're sending it to us so late, we do our resolution to accept the money, and then we have to do our annual plan. So normally our goal is at least to get it to July 1st to submit it to HUD. But either way, the project starts September 1st. The program year starts September 1st. So we will, after the contract is executed in September, October, November, we will back pay you starting September 1st for the public services.
we can't start our projects until after we get approval in September 1st. So if we're trying to work on the ADA ramp for one of our buildings. So we can't start that until we get our contract with you.
Right. And then we have to do it, if we're gonna do a ramp in one of the buildings, we also do an environmental review. You guys have to submit an environmental review, we get that approved, because you can't break ground until our planning department tells us, not a historical area or not in a flood zone or, right. So there is definitely a delay. We try and get these done ahead of time. If we know the project, I will try and get the environmental review done in advance before the program year starts. Yes. Because we are getting ahead of all. So,
Bring you in on the environmental review.
Yeah, he's already looked at it.
Okay, all right, good, just making sure.
It works out time-wise for us fine anyway, because it's better that the restaurant will be closed.
right. You're looking at, you're looking at the golf course restaurant?
Yeah, we're gonna trying to do I have a meeting tomorrow with the lift company to do potentially an outside lift instead of the ramp.
Great. Yeah, I saw that. I came last couple weeks ago to come look at it. It looked really good over there, right next to the stairs.
Yeah, so I think it'll work out. I hope it works out. So
Yeah. Right. So you guys.
definitely be less. I think it'd save us some money too.
Good. Right, but we just can't break ground until the environmental review's done. New contract, so that's our the key thing. The contract's getting executed, environmental review done. So we hope to get it done, yes, for the fall, so you don't have to wait for the spring when the ground thaws out.
Great.
So Rosemary, our last financial allocation from you was approximately 50,000.
65.
Shelter Island, yes, 65,000 we got in 2024, and 69,000 was requested in 2025.
So looking at 26, we should aim for those same margins, so to speak.
Yeah. You can
Thank
answer
you.
that. Yeah.
If we were trying to do something bigger, especially with some housing, could we aim higher? I thought I saw somewhere in this documentation that you sent of like max of 1.5 times funding, but I was,
Is- Right, that's fine. Well, we can do a couple of things. So the 1.5 times is HUD reviews all of our allocations, and I'm not allowed to have more than 1.5 times our allocation, final total allocation in our bank account by June 30th. So that's why we make all the, we ask all the consortium members to spend time because of the fact that we can't be sitting on money. For a larger allocation for affordable housing, we do have downtown revitalization doing money. We have my boss, Leah Jefferson, who's director of affordable housing and community development. That they have some other money that you might be able to use for that, for home money. We have Justin Hornon to deal with the home section. So there are other grants and other pieces of that that are out there. I don't have a lot of money out of CDBG for it. You could not really for new construction as much as you could rehab, but there are other options that we can work on to help you out.
any other questions? Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm looking forward to seeing what we're gonna do with the restaurant when you get the list guy. That'd be great. I think it's gonna be a good project. Also, when I went to visit the restaurant, I did notice that the one bathroom is very large. So if we needed to do a little work in there and make that an ADA compliant bathroom, that could be done as well.
Yeah, I remember you had
Wow.
said that to me. I've looked at it and I'm hoping that maybe by going the route that we're going with the lift, that maybe we'll have some money there to do that work to that bathroom too. So that'd be great.
Right, that'd be nice, because that, and then I know paving of the, that area where you would put like the handicap spot.
Right.
To pull up the grass, pave it so the person get into the restaurant. Yeah, no, it looks like a good project, and it's town owned, which is important, because we gotta be a town owned facility.
Yeah.
That'd be
Great.
great. Well, if you have any questions, feel free to email me, that's fine.
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you very much.
I have one last question. Barbara Bloom had mentioned that there was an upcoming meeting in Riverhead. I don't know if it was already earlier this month or if it's yet to happen.
The meeting, we're gonna have September 18th,
Oh, September 18th.
okay, September 18th in Riverhead. Yep, it's a Thursday.
Yeah, I think she was waiting on an agenda for that to see if
Okay.
anyone wanted to go with her.
Okay, great.
Great. Great. Thank you very much for joining us today. Next agenda item was Jen Messiano's grants report, but Jen is not here today, so we will skip that. And move on to the capital planning budget. Since I wasn't here for the last two meetings, I was curious, as I'm just pulling together the tentative budget, preliminary budget, what the committee had decided on as far as requests and what to put forward to the town board.
My recollection of it was that we initially were anticipating to put $100,000 forward,
Mhm.
50,000 of which would meet half the high water vehicle, and the other 50 would conclude the fourth year of a radio interoperability contract for the police department. Since we've moved past the high water vehicle for next year, based on the last board work session, I think we were left with putting approximately $50,000 toward concluding the radio interoperability. And this group understands that, there's a zero line in the budget right now. So with a $50,000, you're looking at a 0.4 or something increase in total expenditures for the town going forward. So for me, my recommendation is we have, what are we doing if we don't have a budget line, right? Very frankly, if we're trying to do capital projects, we're trying to plan for the future. If we have a zero budget line and we're only going to rely on grants, it's just not really a workable way to do things. Most of our grants are 75-25, so we at least have to have the 25% on a match on a lot of these grants. So I would say that we need to start to feed money back into a capital budget so that we can do proper planning going forward as a municipality. So I don't think the 50,000 at this point is that big of a lift. Now, if somebody else at the meet recalls something different than that,
I recall it pretty much exactly as that. I mean, I think, you know, we had wanted the $100,000 because of I had tried to push for it too, because I thought it's of the high water vehicle, but I know it's getting, that's not going to happen. But I do think that this idea that we don't, I couldn't agree more that if we have to fund this somehow, because otherwise, why do we even sit around the table? I mean, because we can't, if there's no money there to do anything with, then what are we even talking about? We might as well just call it a grant committee meeting and hope that we get grant money and hope for that. I mean, that's the reality. I mean, that's the way I feel about it. So, yeah, I think if it's I don't think the $50,000 is a heavy lift. That'll be up to the board to decide if we present it as such, but I would agree with the chief that that would be my recommendation to a member, as a committee member, to put that forward too. I don't think anybody else has a thought on it. I think it's a good starting point. And I think the radios are needed too. I think we have to finish this up, you know, make everything.
we can review the requests again if you want to do that. Christina could go through each request.
No, I didn't realize the minutes were underneath in this
Yeah.
folder.
Yep.
So I apologize.
Yep.
So the recommendation was to put forward 100,000 then, last meeting.
Initially, right, but post the last meeting was when we publicly discussed and moved forward past that, so that leaves the $50,000.
Then we'd need 21,000 in 2027.
Right, because it doesn't make the whole thing. Right. Because those expenses have gone up in the 4-year cycle.
Right, I know what to take with me then.
Will you be making that presentation? In the budget part, like, you know, we don't need somebody from this coming forward to do that, right?
Well, I mean, just to talk about the project itself.
Yeah, I can speak to the
Details on
project.
that.
Yep. Since it's part of my project, I have no problem speaking to the details of that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because you'd be the project manager on that, or the project.
Yeah, it's ongoing.
All right. Yeah. Oh, and since I didn't realize the minutes were here, we need a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? That's all for today then.
Just to understand something, with the grant money, so we haven't spent the 2025, right? But that's still out there hanging,
Which,
that 65,000,
correct.
okay? And we have in for, unless I heard her incorrectly, 69,000 for 2026?
No,
No. So we haven't established that yet.
no.
Okay, so we're really behind. It's really a late, your things are in on December. And that's why everything seems to be always delayed.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's why where the confusion comes in.
And when we talked about the ADA compliant on Goat Hill, we had that in by June 30th. That was the deadline. Is that correct?
Yes, for them.
Because I remember there being, and then we talked about how we could get bids and everything else, but really, the money has never been allocated, the county hasn't allocated money at this time, meaning we don't have the funds.
Correct.
Okay, and it looks like we won't know until sometime later.
September 15th.
December 15th,
September 15th.
September 15th. Okay, so it will really be a winter project.
No, if they approve it on September 15th, I could break ground on it September 16th.
Okay,
If they
We have
say,
the environmental done.
yeah, if the environmental's done, hey,
They have to,
but we haven't determined, you mentioned that you're talking about doing it a little bit differently, that it might be a elevator versus a.
yes.
Right.
Yeah, so I'll have the estimate for that for ready.
And so since December, so for 2026, which is December of this year, I know that I don't want to get ahead of yourself, but we're trying to deal with last year's, okay? What's in the plans for the following year, for 2026?
We haven't discussed that yet.
Okay,
We have to set a public hearing and have a public hearing and invite the public to give us any recommendations and ideas that they have. And then after that, we discuss potential projects.
So Joe, just in the back of my mind, I know we haven't presented to the board the plan for Justice Court yet, because we're still waiting on some details there. But at some point at the $70,000 level, even if we kicked it up a little bit, we might be able to pick off part of the PD bathroom downstairs?
Yeah, Justice Court is off the table.
No, understood.
Unless there's a sizable capital plan allotment and a commitment, to see that through at any level. None of the Justice Court plans for ADA improvements are within our.
Agreed. So in my mind, because, when I look at the two projects together, knowing some of the inside stuff on it, I mean, is there a chance that we could possibly pick off a portion of that basement piece?
I think
so that we
there
have
is.
an ADA
I
handicap.
think there is at that price point. I think we have to seriously work with Ken about doing a lot of that work in-house.
Summit, right.
At least portions of it. And we could potentially phase the PD ADA project, but like the ramp.
The external ramp, I understand, that's not anywhere near doable, right? But just food for thought for this group, that might be a way for us to do a portion of the project.
And
But I'm not saying there's not other things
that's
out.
more money too.
Right.
And that's why my question about the 1.5 times was,
Right.
is that us 1.5 times, but it's the pot of money from HUD. So the way they divvy up the money amongst the consortium is we get 65,000 this year. It's possible we could get 200,000 next year, and then Huntington, which has been getting bigger dollar amounts, might get less
Little less.
next year. And that's why that September 18th meeting is sometimes important, because that's like Barbara goes, and I've gone with her last year, just to understand better how the whole process works.
Right, so when we cost out the police total project, maybe we can look at that in pieces so that we could.
I don't, there's not a lot of pieces left on the police department project because the upstairs is largely dependent on the ramp.
Yep.
So the downstairs aspect
It's a
is a
small
it's a
aspect.
small piece.
Yes.
So that's an option. We had also discussed, places like the Tot Lot as candidates for this community block grant stuff, the Goat Hill ADA project, that's a good fit. But at these dollar amounts, they have to be, fairly concise, smaller scale efforts.
Gordon, did you have another project in mind? I didn't.
no, I'm thinking of the ADA, okay,
Right.
that, is there some cutoff where you have to comply and have ADA accessibility to the courthouse, for example, or as well as the police station?
They're not hard deadlines, no.
There are no hard deadlines.
Specifically, we're tasked with making best and reasonable efforts to improve these. Now, there's the functional and liability issues of the town not making what somebody else might feel is not a reasonable or best effort. But we have
And we're
no,
trying to do both, we're trying to do, not both, but we're trying to do this through grants.
that's right.
Okay. Does that seem like you can do that with grants? I'm just asking the question.
Well, like what you're saying, we can do a piece of the police department, but we can't do the other piece without
Right.
financial support from the
So
town.
how did we finance that? What's the thinking? How do you get in compliance? I mean, besides the grants, what's the other alternative? Raising taxes? Is that what it boils down to?
Bonding.
Funding. Okay. And as Ken looked at the Goat Hill with the ramp, now he went to or you're considering, I guess you're considering, that's not hard, right?
I'm considering, I have to wait and see what it's gonna cost. I
Right.
think it's gonna be significantly cheaper than the ramp. The ramp is very expensive.
I'm sure you've probably gone through this with the court as well and the fire department. So it became more expensive doing an elevator accessibility?
For which,
Both, either the police station or the court?
Oh, so we've gone through the whole analysis of those buildings, because it's not just about the vertical access like at the exterior. There are movement issues within each building.
In the court, there's multiple steps and all that other stuff.
Right. So, that's an approach so we took an initial approach to fully look at the building with the strategy that, why spend on the elevator to get you up to the porch when you can't go from the
Move
porch to the
inside.
lobby, right?
Got it.
So,
Or you can't get through a doorway, or you can't get to a bathroom. So there's other pieces of that.
Are there things, let's say, like in the court, where you have different steps and can that be broken out into a different step, meaning you do the interior work?
sometimes, that's exactly what we're discussing about the police department. There
Right.
are changes to the upper level and the lower level
Right.
that are independent.
Right.
The lower level changes are smaller in cost, and that's the type of project that we would propose
Right.
to tackle earlier, either with this grant funding or potentially without if the town supported it. But that's something that we could do as an independent standalone improvement that would function fully. That would make the lower level of the police department fully accessible. It wouldn't, the upstairs would remain, have some accessibility challenges, but we'd at least have gone that far and made the improvements to the lower level.
And it shows good faith effort too, when people are looking at that, just like Ken's trying to do it at Goat Hill.
Well, look, this coming year, we did have a budget line item for, let's say, Goat Hill. Okay, that basically is, I'm assuming is pretty much complete, right? Okay, so the other way of dealing with it is having a budget, well, it's a lot, how much was it, 1
What's that, the police?
Yeah,
I don't know, I haven't gotten a final cost on the total project at the police department.
Oh, it's expensive. It's not on the scale of the community block grants.
Right.
You know, for instance, these $50,000-$60,000 targets. Yeah, I mean, just the ramp in the front of the building and the structural changes to the lobby, several $100,000.
several hundred.
Several $100,000, yeah.
Right. So, doesn't look good if we're waiting for grants or we're looking for that grants to pay for this stuff, okay? This doesn't seem like a feasible, doing a little bit of an infrastructure is one thing, but the other way is really, I guess, through a bonding issue that's, and how, I guess it would be interesting to see what it would look like from a tax point of view with a bond on taking care of being ADA compliant.
But in the past, we've wanted to look at if we do justice court and PD at the same time,
Right.
do we get any economies of scale in building? So that we don't have two projects with startup and stuff and, costs, we do it all at once. So we've been waiting to get plans and then hard numbers.
So we still don't have the hard numbers or the plans.
Yeah, we do. We just run into the circular problem of, well, we can't pay for this, so how far do we advance these efforts if we don't have a commitment to see some of them through? For instance, paying for final design, spec, and bid documents doesn't really make sense if we are so far away from.
But the design work was done for the police department through,
All of the, yes,
okay, and Justice Hall?
nearly finished, nearly finished.
So that's in the works.
And supported by grant funds.
Okay. All right. So if it's not this year, it'll definitely have to be very soon to really bring this thing, to get it completed, be ADA compliant. I mean, it would seem, right?
If town board wanted to prioritize funding that, we would be ready to see it through. We would have all of the planning and design work done so that it could be constructed.
Now, is any money allocated, like the senior center? Is there any grant money being used there at all? Do we have, they have some needs as well. Am I correct with that? The senior center?
For ADA needs, you mean?
Well, just in improvements.
There's nothing on the table, nothing being discussed.
Okay. All right.
I,
brought
you
it
know,
into this.
I've said this a couple times, I'd like to see us at least get to the next point where we know the dollar. Even if the dollar amount is overwhelming, I would just at least say that we know what the dollar amount is, at least to take us to that point so that we can see where we're headed. So I'd like to
So
definitely,
we're still missing the drawings for Justice Hall, that's what you're saying?
she's close, Pam's close on the
We're close.
drawings, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the concepts are all well established.
Right, right.
And conceptually, you don't have a number, there's no rough budget for that.
For both facilities, Justice Court and Police
Yeah.
Department, it's well over $1 million,
Okay,
well over $1 million.
But if we harden those up a little bit, I think we'll take it to a point where we can do a presentation and say, hey, look, here's where we're at, how do we look at this, which is what you're getting at.
and I think it should, we really should be
Yes,
compliant.
And then we tasked Jen with looking for grant money. We talked to bonding, on Munistat and Bond Council to see what those steps would be, crank out some numbers.
I'm not over familiar with this granting process, okay, how many grants are out there, and I don't know how you go about, that's what we have a grant writer for. Okay, she brings the things together, but like, we were talking about like community housing, well, I'm trying to understand what the concept was there. When
Because the county does have some money for community housing
for what purpose?
or construction.
Construction?
Yeah.
Okay, and so that's a large amount of money.
It depends on what grants are out there, and that's, once we get a little bit further along with the housing, then we can talk to them and show them, like, this is where.
They could do a piece of it, they could participate in a piece of it.
Yes, yeah.
And what other grants besides blocks are we working on right now? Anything else? Block grants, is there any other granting that we're dealing with? I know we have a budget, like we've seen it with the trucks and, there's the kind of a schedule you have together, okay, but is there anything else that we're applying for?
Well, the trucks have nothing to do with the grant.
No, I know that.
That's budgetary.
Right.
We don't have Jen's report.
right, so I mean, I know on my side, we did law enforcement technology grants, we've done live scan, so there's definitely, she's supported us with some police grants before. The dishes grant that we did for the ferry study is ongoing.
My department has nothing
Nothing
on
else.
the street, so to speak, but several active grants that we are in the process of finishing the project. So no new applications are being evaluated.
I mean, it certainly makes sense, Jim, what you had indicated, you need to put money aside, okay? Because you're gonna have, otherwise you're paying for things strictly out of the grant, that's not gonna be feasible.
Right.
So there should be something put into that fund. And there's a reserve fund there, or there's what, isn't there money in a reserve fund?
Are you talking about the equipment reserve fund?
Yes, yes.
Or just money set
The
aside?
equipment reserve fund.
Yeah, the equipment reserve fund has been primarily for highway purchases.
It's only for highway purchases.
Okay.
It's the equipment reserve fund.
Yeah, that's the designation. There is a little bit of money left over from the cell tower purchase years ago. And
But not to pay matching, though, just to cover
Right.
the outlay to get reimbursed. So if we have $100,000.
two pieces.
Oh.
There is the piece for outlays that we set aside. I think was that 300? Yeah, 300 or 350,000? 300,000. So if we need it to get reimbursed, we have that set aside. There's also maybe $112,000, $119,000 that wasn't spent on capital projects. So that is set aside so that if we do a big project or we have like a dire need on something, we can tap into that. And it's not in a reserve fund, it's just in fund balance. So it's easier to get access to it as needed.
What's the update? Just because I think I was away when we got the fresh pond. Can you just give me a quick little update on the fresh pond?
The new grant award?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's,
So the county approved?
yes. So we had previously been awarded a state
Mhm.
grant with, I forget if it was 25% match But it covered the bulk of the project except for their match. So
Right.
if the award was maybe, 300,000, the project was supposed to cost 300,000, so there was a 25% match. We had originally arranged for the Fresh Pond neighbors to cover that state match, but we then later applied through the Suffolk County Water Quality Improvement Program that they offer annually, and they awarded us $65,000, which was a match
Okay.
from the state. And the two grants, state and county, both have match requirements, but they allow one to pay the other's match. So this becomes a cost, with this new county award, this becomes a cost neutral or cost-free project to the town and I guess ultimately to the Fresh Pond neighbors. They don't have to contribute, yes.
So the wastewater treatment grant for the 1.2 here for the center, the expenses that you're going through right now, surveying, getting some quotes, engineering fees and stuff, that will be covered under that grant.
I don't know.
Okay, so how do we find that out?
I'm working with Jennifer to understand what the contract for those funds would provide us in terms of reimbursement, designing, planning. We're not in contract for that money yet, so the terms are not known to me at this time.
Okay.
Hopefully, yes. Hopefully, those are costs that are reimbursable.
So the plan, I remember the way that grant was written, okay, that you had to submit, they asked to submit the plan to them, okay, before you did anything, okay, so that they got some approval. So what we're gonna be doing, I'm just assuming, okay, is we're gonna develop a plan which will include the engineering, the surveying, and then the systems and on these two pieces. And have we had conversation with them about the fact that it's basically two buildings at this time and that there will be add-ons?
No, that's what we have to submit to them is the change in scope of the project. And when we met with last time, they were generally favorable to those changes. And so pricing those design services is part of this submission to them for entering into the contract and finalizing our scope.
Shouldn't we be reaching out, shouldn't we be speaking to them about, how conceptually we're looking to do this, like it may not be all at one, it may be a piecemeal arrangement? Okay,
Yes.
so we really should get some idea is that, will they cover this, okay, in a piecemeal, or does it have to be all one big blanket thing? Because you would be coming back to them multiple times.
That's right.
Okay.
Their initial feedback was supportive, but we'd have to formally submit that to them. And that's what Jen would be helping us with.
So we will go ahead and make a submittal to that.
I understood, so yeah,
Okay.
yeah, as long as the town board was in agreement on the approach. But I understood that we were, so
Is there any question about that?
I wasn't aware of any question. I
Okay.
was moving forward.
I decided, okay.
No, I was moving forward under that direction. Yeah.
It certainly doesn't have, so have you had any dialogue with them at all, with the EPA on that grant? Has anybody had any dialogue since we talked about this in April? Have we been on the phone or in conversation for us to know that?
No, just with Jennifer about assembling our package.
I would think it would be a good idea to have some conversation with them, okay, so that we're not just spinning our wheels and all of a sudden we find we got to this point and then it's not covered, okay, or whatever.
I agree.
Okay, so who, you would initiate that, or the supervisor?
You will work with Jen.
Mostly through Jennifer.
Jennifer,
To
okay.
manage this, yeah.
Amber, just to go back to the police department, justice court, in the concept of a master facility plan, we're of the understanding that we feel those buildings would be removed from a broader plan. right? Because one of the things that, to Joe's point and mine, is that, you know, why sometimes we're holding off or walking on eggshells on that is if you're gonna do a master facility plan, how do these buildings incorporate into a master facility plan? And are we chasing bad money by doing ADA compliance on them? So my understanding through conversations over the years was that those buildings would remain outside of a master facility plan, so that it does make sense for us to move forward with the project. Okay. And maybe Joe, we can pick off part of it, but let's try to get with the board in the next month or so and get them a number. Some kind of number, even if it's a range in numbers. I'd really like to kind of pin that part down a little bit. You know, it's just before the budget season. It's not that they're gonna budget for it in '26, it's impossible.
Yes.
But at least we can start to float a number on the table, and so we can.
My concern about removing both of those structures from the master plan is that I believe those numbers are so high for those improvements that it warrants considering alternative uses for those buildings if you are committed to that level of investment. I'll give you an example. I'm just making these numbers up. If to make the Justice Court ADA accessible is over $1 million, perhaps for marginally more, you can expand the building a little bit farther and offer alternative uses than just Justice Court. Perhaps that's additional office space or meeting space. And so that is, I think, part of this circular challenge we have, particularly with these price points for ADA upgrades at Justice Court. I think you run into this challenge of, is a Justice Court worth $1.5 million to make ADA accessible for what we currently use? If we are committed to ADA upgrades, perhaps we also should commit that structure to providing us with some other
I
function.
completely agree with you. For a building that's used every other week for 3 to 4 hours, it doesn't make sense to put that kind of money into it without other uses possibly.
Right, and it starts to snowball with the expansion into wastewater investment. Does it make sense to invest $200,000, $300,000 into improvements to a building, to your point, that's used once or twice a week? How do we make this building work more for us? And can those new functions help make it worth the investment? You know, maybe a path becomes more clear when you start to look at the price tags on these. If the town is truly committed to those ADA upgrades, particularly at a point where they're paying for those out of the taxpayer's pocket, you know, I think it begs the question of how do you make this building work for you more? And that's the kind of answer you'd get from including it in the facilities master plan and understanding how it could play a bigger role. I can't envision a path myself, not, you know, with the cards on the table as they are. But I could see PD or Justice Court playing some hybrid roles to make them more worth the investment.
Justice Court, definitely. I think having a hybrid role for PD.
Right, and we're trying to share the building with a social worker, and this adjustment could help for that, so I understand
Or
that.
perhaps even emerge, you know, the justices themselves are more integrated into the police department for office space and operations, and that frees up the Justice Court for
Right,
some other public service.
but I still think that we can go forward with the two plans as drawn with pricing, and then weave that into a facility master plan that whoever's doing this facility master plan can look at those drawings and the current functional
Yes.
use and say, yes,
Yes,
we can make better use out of this. We don't need to have another portion of this building or something on board because we can use this one for it.
yes. Going through the exercise of seeing what it takes to make these buildings accessible advances that conversation about what else can we use these buildings for.
Right. So Amber, can we hope to get on the agenda maybe in early October? And try to present to the board, and we'll invite Pam, the designer, right? Architect, is she on? Architect, in with us, and we can talk about the two buildings and costs. I think October is fair.
Mhm.
Great comment, okay.
Yeah, it really
In
is.
terms of really, what, if you're spending that kind of money for a building that's not used that much, what
What other uses?
exactly?
Well, it also begs the question too, if we're gonna put an IA system in there, like what's the cost for a commercial IA system that's gonna be needed there? And what's the benefit of how much nitrate, how much nitrogen are we removing from the effluent? Because you've got a few people in there.
For its current use.
Yeah.
For its current use in particular.
Yeah.
Right, that plays into
Like-
the efficiency of the effort, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, PD definitely makes more sense because you've got more people in the building. But we're not gonna be taking a lot of nitrogen out of the ground with Justice Court.
We've never really done an overview of the buildings or what you're really referring to is that what our needs assessments have been. We've never really done a full needs assessment of the complex.
No, we need to have that professionally done.
Is that open for any kind of grant money? Is there any grant money that is there anything you can apply for in developing a needs assessment funding?
That would be a Jen Massiano question. I mean, we do have money.
We have earmarked money.
We do have some money set aside from last year, 65,000. I just need to get the quotes, both firms that we talked to need to send us quotes, proposals.
How much money do we have?
65,000,
55,000?
65,000.
65,000.
I was hoping that with the 65,000, they would be able to do a comprehensive study on all this.
Well, one of them was here, right? Didn't we walk, I feel like we took them around. Wasn't there one company here already? Didn't we tour somebody with all the buildings?
Yes.
I want to say last spring.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember their name. It
Cameron.
escapes. Yes, Cameron Engineering,
That's it.
because JK McLean,
Okay,
LK McLean.
got close.
Yes,
What kind of an estimate did they give you at that time? Was it, I mean, did they give you
they didn't give us a dollar,
plan?
they didn't give us a dollar amount, they were working on it, and might have requested some more information on drawings and things.
Joe, is that something that you would be involved with, like, Amber, not to take it off your plate, but to ask that if we have 65,000 earmarked, maybe that's, Joe, is that outside your purview to, or maybe combined with Ken as the Commissioner of Public Works to get that rolling?
No, it's totally within my purview to see that through. I think we stumbled on fine tuning the scope of what that project would be. The reason that particular consultant came to walk around was to help both them and us understand what it is that we really wanted, what our budget was. And that's, the scoping is something that I can prepare. And, we have a draft of, but we would need town board buy-in.
Oh, so you do have a draft?
Of the scope?
Yeah.
I do from where we left off with conversations, what those consultants recommend for scope, or what they have expertise in versus what we thought we needed, but it's never been finalized, the scope.
Okay.
So that would probably be the next step in advancing this effort, is soliciting input from the town board, potentially finalizing what that scope is in conjunction with the budget that's allotted. There's that game we have to
There's
play.
always going to be a lot of gray. I mean, no matter, you start someplace, okay, but it's not going to be like it's not going to be like drawings or anything like that, but conceptually, you need to get into a conversation, okay?
Yeah.
And since you have the funds already set aside, it seems like a no-brainer.
And Joe, you're tying in the conceptual points that you made very well about PD and Justice Court back into that scope is important. So I think it kind of all ties together.
It is, but I'll give you a good example of how dynamic this was. You had made the point earlier about, oh, we're going to remove police department and justice court from the scope of our master plan. 10 minutes later, we're recognizing perhaps
Got
it should be back in the scope for the master
Right.
plan.
But we can't let these things stifle us from moving forward.
No,
That's my take. We have to move it forward. So I'd like to see us move forward.
right. And that's, I think, my recommendation for getting this before the town board, getting alignment and putting a pin in what is the scope
Right.
that we want. And then, I'll work with the consultants to price and
Right.
deliver.
So we can help with the alignment by presenting PD and Justice Court because we already expended $100,000 on design work. right?
Absolutely. And I think it's a starting point because it opens the
We
conversation.
can open it right up into the overall comprehensive.
Yeah.
Right, perfect.
Yep.
So what does that mean? Does that mean, how do we move, how do
It'll
we,
be on the agenda for October 1st, right?
Yeah.
Thereabout.
I-
Give us a month and a half to finalize some broad numbers. Come to the board with the design plans for both buildings.
Right.
And then tie that into
what, yeah, but the other part of it, how do we move forward with starting to explore the whole complex? How do we move?
I'll,
Let's get started on that and put that on the agenda for the September meeting.
which one?
I'm looking at facilities master plan, just stepping that forward.
Okay. Why don't I to take it off your plate, why don't I bring where we left off back up and present to the board as an update with some recommendations for scope? And that can start the conversation, but then we will expect to table that and let that, marinate until we present the ADA in a few weeks later
Right.
at progress. And then we can resume and everybody will be up to speed on what's been done and have a better understanding of the facilities to make that decision. Good?
Yeah, just bumped a couple things to you.
Okay.
Yeah,
What, the number was 65?
yes.
I'm just trying to look here too, because I feel like we had something that was.
Yeah, no,
That was a draft scope of work.
yeah, it's been bumped to,
Many times, yeah.
no, I just bumped it to Joe now.
Joe's got it.
Yeah, he's got it, he can,
Who's got it?
Joe, I have the football.
yes.
But I'm saying, I think there's a draft, if I'm just trying to look through my emails, I think there's a draft that exists, that's something that
Yes.
is a working point for you to.
Yeah, of course.
So,
Motion to close the meeting. All in favor?
All right.
Thank you, everybody.